Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, this indicator is revealing that the Bitcoin price is only just beginning the next extremely volatile move for the larger timeframes. But in the short term, we are beginning to see more and more bearish signals show up right now, which I'll be talking more about later in the video. So definitely stick around. First of all, just giving you a quick update on the US stock market. This right here is the Nasdaq 100 index on the daily time frame, and so far today we've seen the stock market just open underneath Friday's candle close. But at least as of recording this video, we currently have not seen a lot of action in the stock market today. So obviously we're still holding above this range of support, which is coming into play in between around 11,000 and 11.2k for the Nasdaq 100 index. And so basically, while this is the case, the Nasdaq 100 index is still in this pause within the larger downtrend, because technically speaking, this larger downtrend hasn't really reversed into another larger uptrend. But if we see a confirmed breakout above these two previous horizontal highs, then a breakout above this level right here, which is sitting at around 11.7k, would essentially signal more of an uptrend potentially beginning to form for the Nasdaq 100 index. But as of right now, considering that has not yet happened, we are still basically in this pause within the larger bearish trend. But anyway, getting into the Bitcoin part of this video, this right here is the daily Bitcoin chart, and right now the price of Bitcoin is technically still sitting in a higher high, higher low price structure on the daily time frame. And once again, like I've mentioned over the last few days, we've recently seen a confirmed breakout in the daily Bitcoin RSI from this symmetrical triangle pattern, and we've also seen a wave of bullish momentum in the daily Bitcoin MACD. So this is all pointing towards the bullish direction on the daily time frame. But if you're talking about the more imminent shorter term, as in talking about perhaps over the next few days, we are starting to see some signs on this chart telling us that we're due to see some slightly reduced bullish momentum, as in more sideways price action potentially over the coming days. Because, for example, just over the last few days, we've seen a slight lower high form in the daily Bitcoin RSI, and also just over the last 1 to 2 days, we've seen a very slight decrease in the bullish momentum in the daily Bitcoin MACD. And so once again, these signals are pointing towards a bit more of a pause within this bullish price action that we're seeing at the moment and what we've seen over the last week. But anyway, other than that, not much has changed on this chart since yesterday. So getting straight into the 3-day Bitcoin chart, and right now, since yesterday, we have seen another 3-day candle close, and that 3-day candle close was also in the green. So this is now a second bullish confirmation signal on this 3-day Bitcoin chart for the breakout from this falling wedge pattern. And so technically speaking, based on this confirmed breakout in the Bitcoin price and the confirmed breakout in the RSI on the 3-day time frame, we are still, at least as of right now, looking more bullish than bearish on these larger time frames like this 3-day chart with these bullish confirmation signals at the moment. But with that being said, as always, we need to be aware of levels of resistance such as these previous highs, for example, which are sitting at around 22,500 and around 25,000 as some other strong levels of resistance if we continue further up here, as this breakout suggests. And it is also important to mention that this breakout on this 3-day Bitcoin chart is talking about the larger moves in the price of Bitcoin, as in the moves that usually play out over at least a few weeks, but usually over a few months. And so it's just important to understand that when I'm talking about the larger time frames like this 3-day chart, I'm not talking about the short term, as in what could happen over the coming hours or days. And now, while we're on the 3-day Bitcoin chart, just giving you a quick update on the Bollinger Band indicator on the same 3-day Bitcoin chart, because right now, after the recent squeeze formation in the Bollinger Band indicator, we're beginning to see the expansion in the Bollinger Band indicator, and this can be seen even easier in the Bollinger Band width indicator, which is at the bottom of the screen. And in case you're new to this channel, this indicator at the bottom, the Bollinger Band width, once again, basically tracks the difference between the high end and the low end of the Bollinger Band indicator. So of course, if this Bollinger Band width indicator is low, then that means we're seeing a tight squeeze in the Bollinger Band, and vice versa. If we see the Bollinger Band width indicator high up, then that basically means we're in an expansion phase in the Bollinger Band indicator. And basically, just about any time where we see a significant squeeze in the Bollinger Band indicator, indicator, like what we've seen more recently, this usually means that another extremely volatile move is just around the corner. And the last time we saw a squeeze of this significance in the 3-day Bitcoin Bollinger Band was all the way back here towards around October 2020. And obviously we can see what happened back then in the price of Bitcoin. First of all, we saw a lot of choppy sideways price action leading into that squeeze formation. But then not long after we saw that squeeze in the Bitcoin Bollinger Bands on the 3-day time frame, we saw a massive expansion, an extremely volatile move that played out over multiple months in the price of Bitcoin. And basically what we're seeing right now is the first uptick in the Bollinger Band width indicator, which is showing that the Bollinger Bands are finally beginning to expand, potentially beginning that next extremely volatile move in the price of Bitcoin. But once again, considering this is the 3-day time frame, this is talking about the much larger moves in the market like this, for example, that play out at least over multiple weeks, usually over multiple months. And so if we want to know what could happen in the more shorter term, we need to look at smaller timeframes like this 8-hour Bitcoin chart, for example. And right here, technically speaking, this breakout is still valid. This breakout to the upside and this price target at around 23,000 is still active on the chart as of right now. But as I've been warning about over the last few days, we do have strong resistance right here at around 20.9k to 21k. And technically speaking, significant levels of resistance like this on the chart do actually have the potential to stop the price of Bitcoin even reaching the technical price targets. And so it's due to reasons like this as to why I personally always keep a stop loss on my trades if I'm trading a breakout like this, for example, because once again, there's always the possibility that the price of Bitcoin turns around sooner than expected. And so in that case, at least if I keep a stop loss sitting in profits, then that stop loss will trigger if the price goes too far to the downside. And so even in the worst case scenario where the price just reverses all the way back down sooner than expected, then even in that case, I will still be locking in profits with a stop loss. But it is important to mention that that is just letting you know what I personally do with my own trades, and that should not be taken as personal financial advice. But anyway, zooming into the more shorter term, taking a look at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, right now the price of Bitcoin once again is still finding a lot of resistance at this golden pocket, which is sitting at around 20.9k to 21k once again. And so that is still the significant level of resistance in the short term that the bulls need to break above in order to continue another leg back to the upside. And now in that case, if the bulls can actually push Bitcoin above 21,000 with some confirmation, like at least a 4-hour candle close, but ideally a daily candle close above 21k, then in that case, the next point of resistance to the upside would be sitting at around 21.7k and around 22.7k. And as for some short-term support levels, we do have some support sitting at around 20.3k, around 19.7 to 19.8k, and around 19.1k. But anything below those levels, then we would also have some support at around 18.7k and around 18.2k. And now in terms of the price trend itself, technically speaking, as of recording this video, we're still seeing higher lows and higher highs in the Bitcoin price on the 4-hour time frame. So technically, this is still a bullish trend in the short term, although like I warned about in my last video that I posted yesterday on this channel, this bullish trend is potentially beginning to lose bullish momentum due to what we're seeing in the price oscillators on the 4-hour time frame. For example, starting off with the 4-hour Bitcoin MACD, this at the moment is showing more bearish momentum compared to bullish momentum, because we can clearly see these bearish waves of momentum are becoming more frequent in the histogram within the MACD indicator compared to the bullish waves of momentum. And now if you're looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI, this is actually showing a few bearish signals. First of all, as I warned about in my last video, we have already confirmed a bearish divergence on the 4-hour time frame because we have already seen higher highs in the price of Bitcoin and lower highs in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. So once again, like I warned about yesterday, this is a short-term bearish signal telling us that we're losing bullish momentum and that we're due to see a bit more of a cool off. And as of recording this video, this is precisely what is playing out right now. But on top of the bearish divergence, we're also beginning to see a bearish trend form in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI with now a lower high, lower low structure. And typically when we see something like this form in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI, this is actually a signal on the chart telling us that we could see more of a trend reversal from a short-term bullish trend into potentially a short-term bearish trend, forming lower highs and lower lows in the price of Bitcoin. And now, once again, as I've recorded in this video, we technically have not begun the bearish trend in the price action in the short term, that is. But if we're strictly looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI, this is potentially foreshadowing another bearish trend potentially coming sometime soon in the short term for the price of Bitcoin. But at the very least, we do have a confirmed bearish divergence at the moment, telling us that we should not be expecting any bullish momentum, at least in the short term, talking about the next 1 to 2 days. But anyway, just before getting into the Ethereum part of this video, in some more positive news, something interesting to throw in here, today is actually the 14th anniversary of the Bitcoin white paper. And in case you didn't already know, the day the Bitcoin white paper was released, that was basically the day that Satoshi Nakamoto released to the world the idea of Bitcoin. And that day was October 31st, 2008. And now some people call this Bitcoin's birthday, but in my opinion, Bitcoin's birthday is on January 3rd because it was on January 3rd, 2009 that Satoshi Nakamoto mined the Genesis block of the Bitcoin blockchain. So that was basically the day that Bitcoin was actually launched as a network. But anyway, with that little history lesson out of the way, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this right here is the daily Ethereum to US dollar chart. And right now, the price of ETH is currently playing out that cool off, which I've been talking about over the last few days, because obviously just recently we saw the daily Ethereum RSI reach into overbought territories, telling us that the price is getting a little bit too overheated at the moment, and we're due to see a bit of a cool off, which either plays out in the form of sideways price action or a slight pullback in the price of ETH in order to help reset the daily Ethereum RSI to potentially give us some more room to the upside later on. And once again, for the best part of 1 week, I've been comparing this price action to what we saw during July, obviously comparing these two breakouts. And right now, simply based on what we saw at this previous breakout, we are potentially at that first cool-off stage where the RSI reaches into overbought territories, somewhat similar to what we saw during that July breakout. And that was where we saw the price of ETH actually see a slight pullback, but mostly chop around sideways for almost a week before continuing higher a few weeks later. And so once again, just based on this fractal and all of these technical indicators showing very similar signals compared to what we saw last time, that is potentially the stage of this breakout that we're in at the moment, technically speaking. And now obviously this is all looking at the daily time frame, so a pullback like this would only look like a bit of a short-term cool-off on the daily time frame. But when we zoom into some smaller time frames like this 4-hour chart, these short-term cool-offs become more enlarged on the smaller time frames, so they look more significant. And in fact, when we're looking at these short-term trends, we could even flip into potentially a bit more of a short-term bearish trend, which could still be considered just a short-term cool-off on the slightly larger time frames. But anyway, heading back into the 4-hour Ethereum to US dollar chart, right now, obviously we've seen a rejection from that strong resistance level at around 1650, as I've also been talking about over the last few days. And as of recording this video, the price of ETH is currently finding a bit of short-term support around this golden pocket, which is coming into play in between around 1550 to 1560 approximately. And now if the price of ETH confirms a break below around 1550, then the next support to the downside that I'll be watching is sitting at around 1470 to 1480. Below that, then around 1410, then around 1330 if we break below 1410. And as for some short-term resistance levels, once again, we still have resistance at around 1650, and anything above that, then I'll be looking towards around 1780, close to 1.8k based on this local high. And once again, in terms of the short-term price trend at the moment, based on the price action alone, technically speaking, this is still a bullish trend in the short term because we are still seeing a higher low, higher high price structure, at least as of right now. But once again, like I also warned in my last video, we are beginning to see signals on this chart telling us that this bullish trend is potentially losing bullish momentum in the short term. And once again, these signals can be found in the 4-hour Ethereum price oscillators. For example, looking at the MACD to start off with, these more bearish waves of momentum to the downside are becoming more frequent and slightly larger than the bullish momentum shown in the histogram within the MACD indicator. And now if you're looking at the 4-hour Ethereum RSI, as of right now, we already have a confirmed bearish divergence, as I've been talking about over the last 1 to 2 days. And so technically speaking, what this means is that we're due to see reduced bullish momentum in the short term, which basically means just over the next 1 to 2 days, since this bullish divergence, we should not be expecting bullish price action, and instead mostly either choppy sideways price action or a slight pullback as the most common outcomes for a bearish divergence. And obviously over the last 1 to 2 days, this is pretty much exactly what we have seen, and we could potentially see this sort of price action over the next 1 day or so. But generally speaking, a bearish divergence visible on the 4-hour time frame plays out and starts to fade away over around 1 to 2 days, and obviously it's already been nearly 2 days since this bearish divergence. But just like I said earlier for Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame, this bearish divergence isn't the only bearish signal that is visible right now in the 4-hour RSI, because right now, at least at the time of recording this video, the Ethereum RSI on the 4-hour time frame is currently already in a lower high, lower low structure. And so once again, this is just another short-term bearish signal telling us that we could see a slight pickup in bearish momentum, and sometimes this can even come before a bearish trend reversal from a bullish trend into a bearish trend just in the shorter term. But once again, this could still play out within the larger breakout on the daily time frame, because we still need to see a bit more of a cool off on this daily time frame and in the daily RSI. But anyway, if you want to maximize your profits in crypto during a move like this, then make sure to check out these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left of your screen shows you how to make money in crypto if the price is either trending up or trending down. And the video in the bottom left of your screen shows you how to make money in crypto if the price is chopping around sideways. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.